obviously when I come across your page and saw what you was doing, I'm like, wow, another powerful woman that just I need to have a conversation with. So here we are having a conversation about you. So before we get into the chat, tell the world a bit about yourself, because obviously your people know what you do, know who you are, but I guess my followers and the people that
Yeah, I
tune
was
into
about
me,
to say
yeah,
you need to reintroduce yourself for the people that are coming on now.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I'll go first.
Well, you go first, and then I'll jump
I'll
in
go.
after you. How about that?
So yes. So first and foremost, I'm a daughter of Jesus. I'm a daughter of God. I just that's who I am, and yeah, that I have to just put that out there. And yeah, I've done so many things. I do so many things. Sometimes I wear so many hats that people are just like, how do you do all of those things? But
Mm.
yeah, so I would say I'm a mental health advocate. I've worked closely with people with mental health, so I just know it touches my heart. So many stories I've come across, and so that is like, oh yeah, that's just my love story. That, the whole thing. And yeah, I do presenting, and we run a care home in London. So yeah, we're
Wow,
care home owners. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. A brief. See, every time I see you put that cup to your mouth, I get a bit upset, man. I'm
Don't
like,
be
you know, this.
jealous. Don't,
No, I'm
don't be
being
jealous
triggered. No,
of my
you're
cup.
triggered. It's a trigger thing, isn't it? It's a
Don't
trigger.
be. You had your chance. You had your opportunity. You
It's
could
it's
have got your own
it's
tea.
it's trigger. You know why? If I was bad man, I'd just leave you staring at my picture and go and put the kettle on
The
and just come back.
background's cool. I'll talk to the people then. I'll talk to them.
um, for those that don't know me, my name is Fredi Nwaka. I'm an award-winning writer, director, film producer, actor, and mentor. I do a lot of stuff also in the mental health remit, especially with black men. My organization Heal, which is this where the life came from, Heal, how emotions affect life. Um, Normally looks at men, black men in particular. We don't like to talk, we don't like to communicate, we don't speak about our problems, we don't get
Yeah.
into conversation. So if you like, we suffer in silence. So I'm trying to do a lot of work in that remit to get black men particularly to open up. Do you know what I mean? To speak. And
Yeah.
through a lot of the trauma that I went through as a young child, being in care, I was fostered from the age of 3 months to when I was about 10. I got abused in care by my carers and a bunch of other things, joined gangs. Uh, Over 45 of my friends have been killed from violent crime. So I've seen a lot, done a lot, been involved in a lot. And here I am. I'm a survivor in it. So I guess that's our connection. You work in the same remit,
Yeah.
and I think this is our connection, man. So yeah. So
So I have a question.
you okay? You're interviewing me. All right, let's do this then.
Well,
No, I'm
what
joking. I'm
I do
joking.
is it comes naturally. It comes
Go on.
naturally. What I wanted to know is, you started the whole heal thing, and because of your experience, and you said what heal
Mm.
means. What was like the defining moment that made you feel like, okay, now is the time. I know I need to do heal, because obviously you've had your story. You've gone through the things that you did, but what was the moment that you knew I need to impact people?
You know what? It's been crazy, man. Okay. So when I look at my life as in a snapshot, I've had people die in my arms. I've had to hold people's stomach back in when it's came out. I've had people's heads shot. I've had all kinds of stuff, and for a long time, um, I kind of, I guess, when you go through certain kinds of levels of abuse and things like that as a child, you don't really realize how much your childhood impacts the adult version.
Mm,
And a friend of mine, she's a therapist, and she helped me discover the whole thing about the inner child. And my book is called Boy, actually, and she basically helped me to discover this whole thing about having the inner child. Do you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
so, and a lot of the decisions that I made as an adult weren't from the adult perspective; it was from the child in me.
Right.
And that's when I realized, like, the violent side of me, the angry side, the side
Mm,
that had no respect for women to a certain degree, and the one that was hurting certain people was this angry little child. And the adult version of me was always arguing with the child. And so she gave me this power to be able to have the conversation with the little boy and put the little boy in check. So the reason why I started Hill was I realized exactly how many black men, especially, don't talk.
mm,
Like, we just don't speak. And sometimes I'll chat to my brethren and say, "You good? Yeah, I'm cool." And then they're not really cool.
yeah.
And I think the change in defining moment for me was my little brother. So a little brother of mine, he's not my real biological brother, but he's like my brother. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my heart. We was working on a movie together, and he was messaging me. He was meant to come to the read through. He didn't turn up. So me being the person that I am, I'm like pissed in it. I'm mad now. You don't turn up to this read through. So he's calling my phone. I'm airing his calls in it because I got this big read through, loads of actors in the place. It's a movie. You haven't turned up in it. So now I'm fuming. You don't come. So he's ringing my phone. I'm airing his calls. He's messaging me, bruv, I need to speak to you. I'm airing that. Don't message me, bruv, because you didn't turn up and you're making me look bad. Anyway, the next morning now, I get a phone call from mum. He's gone. I'm like, gone? Where's he gone? Gone where? He's gone. I thought, where's he gone? He took his life. Do you know what I mean? He took his life. And I thought to myself, wow, like that hurt me for so long, man. It beat me up, made me implode. Like I could have taken that call and maybe I could have saved his life. But what it made me realize is that whatever he was going through, he didn't talk about it. Like I would not have known. Like he didn't do nothing that made me see that he was on the fringe of, do you know what I'm saying, doing what he was doing. And that's what really made me realize that there's a lot of us, especially black men, that are suffering in silence, man, and that we don't talk, we don't speak, we don't communicate. Hence why I set up here.
That's powerful, man, and that's such a sad story. And
You
I'm
know,
sure you,
yeah. Do you know what? I mean, yeah, it was one of those things that really hit me because I mean, when you're involved in gangs, I mean, obviously, I come from a place of walking around with knives and guns and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So you have this kind of armor that protects you from what you're doing, and sometimes you can become oblivious to your own emotions. Like I didn't cry for years. You're not seeing me cry. I don't do that. You know what I mean? Now I love crying. It's the most beautifulest thing. I love tears. Give me a reason to cry. Let me watch something on television that's soppy. I don't even care. I don't mind crying. And when he passed away, I was in bits. I remember being on the bus and I was crying, and people were looking at me. I tried to pretend it was hay fever. It wasn't working. I was trying to style it out like I had hay fever. But it was such a beautiful thing to release, that emotion of tears and pain. So again, these are all things that I just didn't know existed in me. I didn't know that I could even cry. Like cry, what's that mean? You know, as you must have black people, men, cry. Are you mad? You what? Do you know what I mean? And I got, yeah, and I've got African parents. You want me to give you something to cry about? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't allowed to cry. You know what I mean? So I've got questions for you now.
Oh,
no, wait,
wait there. Jess just said, hold on. She said, did you feel guilty about your friend?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, man. He's my little brother, man. He was involved in a lot of stuff prior to that. I got him into a couple of films. I put him in Brotherhood with Noel Clarke. He was in Brotherhood. I gave him a lead part in one of my films because I'm a film director, to be fair. I write and direct and produce movies. And I gave him a part. And I feel like for a while, I felt really beat up and really guilty. But then I also remembered that most people that get into that position mentally, they've already made up their minds. So even if you save them on that day, doesn't mean that you know what I'm saying, you can't always be there. So I did feel guilty for a while. I wish I'd taken that call, but I don't know if I'd taken that call if it would have prevented the inevitable, if that's where he was going anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? But I still honor him. You know what I mean? My movies.
Sorry, how were you able to get over the guilt? Because obviously I think that's one thing that you were saying really beat you up. And you were saying that you went through therapy as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking, with people who go through things, I think the thing that they don't do at all is talk. And a problem shared is a problem halved. And somebody used to say to me, well, you can't do anything about my problem. But the impact of talking literally offloads that from you thinking it all mentally to it coming out. So I know you said therapy, but is that the only thing that you were able to do? What was like that?
I think for me, because I'm from that place where I've seen a lot, done a lot, I've been involved in a lot of stuff. Like I said, I've had to hold in people's stomachs. I've had people jumping out of guns, and like my life has been surrounded by that. So when that happened, I think it sounds really mad, but what freed me was the fact that I was able to cry. It sounds really, the fact that I was able.
Wow.
Okay, so being fostered, being in care, and being this child the way that I was, and the things that I'd done, I was led to believe like I was a monster. And the things that I've been able to do in my life, I was always this guy. I was a monster rat. Hence why I got the whole name Freddy Krueger, walking around with guns and knives and stuff. It's like that became my name. And then even when I tried to leave it alone, it kind of stuck with me. I was in a gang called Untouchables from Brixton South, called Untouchables. So you get labeled as a monster or labeled as something. So even when you stop doing those things, the name kind of sticks with you.
Yeah.
So as much as I was beat up and I was hurt, the fact that I was able to cry almost made me, it sounds weird, it allowed me to, I'm normal, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm normal. And it was the same thing when my mum passed away. When my mum passed away, I was like, please cry, Freddie, man. Please cry, please cry. Because if you can't cry when your mum passes away, it's like, you know what I'm saying? And I was in bits. And literally, again, the tears, everyone was like, Freddie, be strong, be strong. Like, no, I don't want to be strong. Like, being sad and crying was the most beautiful thing I could have done. And I
Wow.
was able to cry, and my son was pulling my leg, like, Dad, it's going to be all right. And I'm like, no, I am all right. Like, I'm all right. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The fact that I'm normal. Like, it's like I picked my skin, like, right, I'm human. Like, I've got emotions. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm so used to being, don't smile,
Yeah.
like, nothing doesn't bother me. Do you know what I mean? And that was, so in its mess, in its pain, there was beauty. So, yeah.
Did you want to ask me a question? Because I've got so many.
Yeah, I did. I want to ask you, what made you decide to set up care homes?
It's not me. I didn't decide it. I fell into it.
Okay.
Because I actually went to uni and I studied business management, and I knew I wanted to do business, but I didn't know in what. So when I had finished uni, I decided to I actually got introduced to like the whole banking world and stuff like that. So I was in it for about 9 years, but I was just so unsatisfied. I was just so unhappy. It wasn't what I wanted to do. Now, prior to that, I had done some television work, and I enjoyed it so much. So I had actually featured in Ashley Banjo's Secret Street Crew.
Okay.
Somebody put it up on my DM, like, you know, I was saying the internet doesn't sleep, right?
I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna let me write that down.
There we go.
No, I'm gonna find that. See now you've been drinking a cup of tea in my face, yeah? Like, I'm going to find that. Yeah, I'm writing it down. Right, let me write it down.
So
All right, carry on.
Done that, and then I knew that the camera was for me. I enjoyed it. I just thrived in it. But I had to put that to bed real quick, because I'm from a family where, what are you doing with your life? Like, I interviewed Kojo, and he was like, his dad was like, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or anything else, you're a failure. And literally, that was my mantra. So I knew that I had to go down that kind of route. And so I did that for 9 years, and then I was just like, no, this is really unfulfilling. So after I had my first daughter, I was at home, and you know, when you have a moment of silence, you get time to really know and revise what is for you. And so I actually loved doing hair and makeup, and so I enjoyed doing it so much. And then I started doing it on myself. You know, there was a whole era of hair and makeup artists. I jumped on that bandwagon, and I was just like, yeah. And my family thought, you are so unserious. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? A whole clever kind of person wasting your talent to come and do, what do you call this? Anyway, so I pursued it, and then I was getting more and more, I was getting better, being introduced to new people, started doing celebrities. I actually did Burna Boy's photo shoot for one of his videos. Yeah, that was fun. That was real good. But yeah, I just met so many people. But one common thread that I realized along the way is, look, I've got my wand, which I call my hairbrush, and I'm just there doing people's makeup. And most of the times I'm getting tears, and I'm just like, this isn't what I need as a makeup artist, because you're running my makeup, like, can you stop? But I just realized that people will be telling me their stories, and I guess it's that moment of Zen where your eyes are closed and you just get a moment of reflection. And you know, I've always been good at asking intrusive questions and not really feel like I'm intruding.
Like you're being nosy.
I know, no, I love people. I just
Yeah.
love to find out about people's lives. I've got my own story, so I enjoy learning about people's backgrounds. Anyway, so then I just realized, wow, like people are actually going through things. You come up with your glam self, you portray that to everybody else, but really there's so much more going on in the background, but you don't show that. And I was intrigued. I was just like, wow, like we need to get people to start telling their stories because it's so important. And in my church, I'm you know, one of the leaders there, and I was just like, you know, I feel so what's the word? I feel like a burden for the young people, because I feel like they're growing up in a world where they've just too much information, too many images of perfection that they have to live up to. And I felt this real sadness because I feel like they don't actually know the real story, because a lot of these people who present themselves as all of this amazing stuff actually go through things.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if you guys only really knew the real story. And so, yeah, so that's the beginning, the foundation of where it all began. Well, not really, there's a story behind that. But then my mum's a nurse, and she started a care home way before I was like involved in it. And yeah, I was taking care of people with mental health. And so when I was kind of a bit lost for direction in which way I wanted to go, I knew I didn't want to go back into the banking world. She said, well, why don't you come? She tricked me. Why don't you come and do like the accounts for me? Because I'm good with numbers and things like that. Why don't you come and do the accounts for me? And I will pay you basically, I'll match basically what you're earning. I was like, oh, that sounds good. Why not? So I did that. But I'd go into the offices, and my goodness, my heart was pulled. I'm hearing stories of different people. It could have been me and you. We have teachers, we've taken care of doctors, we've taken care of like prominent people, taking care of people who you meet down the road. And I'm hearing these stories, and I'm just thinking, whoa, like lucky escape. Because my own background is that, are we going into stories now? Yeah, are we going? How much time do we have?
I mean, do you know what we need to do? I feel like this is what I think we need to
Yeah.
do. Because one thing I learned, so my PR person, obviously my agent, my
So
manager said to me the other day,
don't tell it all.
yeah, and I feel like I'm launching. I'm going to start my podcast very, very
Yeah.
soon. I think I need to get you on my podcast to have a
Yeah.
proper
We
conversation.
need to get.
So yeah, we kind of need to like baby step them. If we give them
Yeah.
too much, it's like
Yeah.
yeah. So let's not tell them our
Too
complete
much.
stories. We get
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
I'll continue where I was then.
yeah.
So yeah, so I started getting involved, and meanwhile I'm getting paid to do accounts, but I'm in there chatting and having all these stories. You know, I like to hear people's stories, and I'm reading people's stories, and I'm just like, oh, this is heart-wrenching. And then I just felt this responsibility within myself that I need to do more. Like it starts with the one. I need to take responsibility to help others see that there's another side to the story. And then that was the creation of Heartfelt with Hayet, where I started having these conversations. I started going on, this wasn't a very popular thing, but I started going on red carpets and asking people about their mental health. And
Okay.
I quickly,
Okay. It's
yeah, and I was
like we
just
come out to
like,
enjoy ourselves, and now she's asking me, okay.
exactly. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to be very popular. But I realized actually having these conversations isn't a very popular thing. But sometimes somebody has to do the hard thing in order for something to get done, do you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's, yeah.
So all right. So obviously you're aware of the you are a very powerful woman.
Thank you.
Can you put the cup down, please? I'm, I recommend therapy to anybody out there. Um, we we look at therapy like it's taboo. We look at it like everyone thinks that the whole thing with I guess the mind is people that are on park benches shaking or walking around speaking to themselves. But everybody's got some form of mental health,
Yeah.
and people just don't seem to, they think that it's just those people that are crazy. But we've all got something going on in there, which is some form of mental dysfunction. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I could do some therapy around a cup of tea. But back to what I was saying, the Power of a Woman Awards. So guys, if you guys are joining us, March the 10th, right? I've got the Power of a Woman Awards, right? Which is the award show. Are you coming, by the way?
If you invite me.
You know what? I'm